Hey everyone, talking about the top 20 best vetiver fragrances that I've ever tried. I've done a best vetiver fragrances video before, but at the time I think there was only like 5 or 6 that made the cut for me. Now that I reached 20, figured a good time to do another one. I'll link in the description where you can get samples of any of these. That's my site, but there's lots of other places where you can get them. So if you want to see a link where they're organized in a collection and just buy them elsewhere, you can do that too. Most of these lean masculine just by the nature of vetiver as a note. So just a heads up on that. If you are looking for more feminine fragrances, you're probably not going to find them in this video, but I would still recommend anyone try to smell a very vetiver dominant fragrance if you can, because it's such a dominant and common note in so many things. If you're not sure what it smells like, that's a good opportunity to just try to get to know it at least. And for me now it feels like, how did it take me so many to get to know what vetiver smells like? But I had to smell so many fragrances before I really realized, oh, that's what's connecting them. That's what vetiver smells like. So hope this helps somebody maybe for that reason too. But anyway, gonna jump in. Got a pretty big range here from the more fresh side to the more earthy side, and kind of all price ranges. To be honest, I did not choose them to try to be like, oh, I'm going to include ones people can afford, because when I'm doing these lists, it's all about what I really think is the best, and I just want to stay true to that. But there are some really, really good affordable vetiver fragrances too. So yeah, first, not in any particular order, Aesop Tacit, really high quality and very like natural smelling citrus, green with woodsy and rootsy type of vetiver undertones. Really good combination, in my opinion, of very much smelling high quality and also like attractive smelling, because there's definitely niche stuff out there which you might think, yeah, it smells really high quality, but if you're not already into fragrance, it's not really going to be an attractive smell to have around you. To me, this is just a very appealing one that also smells high quality, kind of tropical, but not in like a floral or obvious way, more just like the feeling of being kind of, I always think of this one as like laid back at an upscale island resort or something. Next, another fresh, crisp, sort of tropical style vetiver one, Vettiveru by Comme de St. Again, crisp, fresh, but it's also like laid back and relaxing, calming at the same time. I get this like, yeah, hanging out on the patio at a tropical resort vibe. The vetiver is really well balanced here. It's not too oily, and it's also not too dry either. So yeah, really, really nice, and on the more affordable end, fresh vetiver. Next, probably the most affordable, really vetiver dominant fragrance out there, at least in terms of common ones, Encre Noire by Lalique. This is dark woodsy vetiver, but in a way that's still very wearable. So it's not really dirty and like so authentic and so realistic that you really have to, be super major frag head into so much niche stuff to appreciate it. It is too dark for a lot of people, but for people who just like vetiver in general, want something that's affordable, really easily wearable, and is just a really good scent, especially for the price to quality ratio, I think that's a good one. Next, in a similar vein, a flanker of that one would be Encre Noire Sport, also by Lalique. Sport fragrances can sometimes just come across as, whether or not they actually do, just when you hear the name, it might kind of seem like, oh, that's just like a cheap, gonna smell just like shower gel deodorant type of thing. But this one really is just like a fresher, more sporty version of the original Encre Noire. Really good budget option, again, for a fresh yet deep vetiver scent. So kind of similar to the original, but just like more of a fresh, I think grapefruit, maybe like some kind of like citrusy vibe in there. Next, again, another fresh one. Promise there are some richer ones later in the list. Monte Vetiver by Essential Parfum. This is, refreshing, breezy vetiver. I liken it to like sipping a Sprite lemon lime type of drink next to a field of vetiver on a cool afternoon. Next, Saint Vetiver by DS and Durga. This one seems to be really underrated. Like, with my fragrance site, DS and Durga is a really popular thing, but I noticed that this one is like almost no one ever gets it. So I was kind of surprised, because to me, this is one of my favorites by them. Again, that kind of tropical resort vetiver style vibe reminds me a little bit of like Aesop Tacit type of thing. And I think this would just be such a good one to wear on like a warm weather summer vacation type of vibe. And yeah, I really like it. Next, another designer one. It's not super cheap as far as designers go, but it is cheaper than a lot of niche. Vetiver Paradise by Carolina Herrera. And this reminds me a little bit of another favorite of mine that doesn't even have vetiver in it, called Live in Colors by the House of Oud, with this woodsy citrus pink pepper vibe with a little bit of warm spice as well. And to me, this is the perfect combination of like fresh, sweet, not gourmand style sweet, but like citrusy, like just fresh, sweet citrus type of vibe, and woodsy. Probably one of my favorite designer fragrances out there. So yeah, this is if you're a fan of fresh, upbeat vetiver paired with citrus. It's not as vetiver dominant, honestly, as you might think from it literally being called Vetiver Paradise, but it's still definitely got that vetiver presence. Next, Vetiver Fatal. It's not spelled like Fatal, but by Atelier Cologne. And this is, another nice, crisp, yet gentle, fresh vetiver scent. Sometimes this sort of light, sheer style of Atelier colognes can make them feel a little bit personalityless to me. And I say that even as someone who likes more chill scents that aren't necessarily massive projectors. But the way this one is done is really nice to me. Very like professional and clean style vetiver. Super easy wear. Next, Grey Vetiver Parfum version by Tom Ford. Nice regal vetiver that's still deep and a little bit earthy, like authentic style. Not that this is like, oh, Tom Ford made the most authentic vetiver scent, but it is more of that kind of like deep vetiver. But it still has a clean shine to it as well. So it's really rich, but without being super dark and like, whoa, that's intense kind of vibe like certain rich vetiver scents can be. Very classy and professional, but it's still not like uptight or snooty. Like, I do not usually like fragrances that I would describe as classy. And that doesn't mean I think they're bad, but it just doesn't go with my vibe. It's not what I personally want to smell like. This is one that I do feel strikes a good balance, and I've worn this to like, if I had to go to a work thing or something like that where I didn't want to wear anything that was going to be too offensive or massive or whatever, and just want to feel a little bit more like professional confidence or something, like I think this is a really good one for that. The citrus is really pretty downplayed in this one. The orange blossom just kind of adds a little bit of soapy cleanness, but it's not super present, to my nose at least. It's really just all about the vetiver. And I'm not saying that it smells like Elysium by Raja overall, but it has that style of vetiver, if that makes sense to me, the way it's done here. And of course, it does have similarities to the other Grey Vetiver Eau de Parfum and Eau de Toilette, especially the Eau de Parfum. But actually, this one is my favorite in the series. And lastly, in terms of the similarities, I would say it has some similarities to Vetiver by Guerlain, but is less old school than that one. Really kind of just like a timeless style, but it's, again, more of that like professional, mature type of vetiver. Not that Elysium is like that, but just the way it's used here. Next, M7 by Yves Saint Laurent. Very rich and classy, kind of classic masculine scent that smells, I would say, again, pretty timeless. It has a classic feel, but it does not smell dated. And there's an oud accord here that's really deep, warm, kind of opulent, woodsy vibe. Not like, animalic, barnyard style oud. And there's almost a creaminess here with the way the amber is used as well. The vetiver adds kind of like a smoky, grassy vibe, the way it's used here. And yeah, the whole thing is really well blended, especially for a designer. I'm never quite sure if this is discontinued or not, because sometimes it pops up here and there in terms of the bottles. But yeah, I really like this one. Just, overall, really refined scent. And I would say it leans mature. Next, Homme le Boisee by Guerlain. This almost opens up smelling like a woodsy Sprite to me, but like in a good way. I don't know if that sounds good or bad. Or like stirring ginger ale with a stick of vetiver is sort of what I can think of when I smell this one. Definitely this kind of mojito vibe. Fresh, green, light, nice option for warm weather that's still like classy. So yeah, that one I believe is discontinued, but it's definitely not impossible to find, at least for, even like travel spray sizes and stuff. Next, Vetiver Reunion by Urban Scents. I never see people talk about this one. I think I basically just like sampled it one day with a big haul of stuff from Scent Split, and then it just like really stood out to me. Like, wait, no, that's really good. Fresh, uplifting vetiver, but it has this kind of mysterious allure to it. The pepper in here is touted as being kind of major, but to me it didn't come across that noticeable. It really just kind of deepened the nuances of the vetiver. Same with the citrus for that matter. It never really smells like super citrusy to me, unlike some of the other fresh ones on this list. But they just kind of like add a little bit of nuance to bring out that fresh, realistic side of the vetiver. And yeah, really, really nice, underrated vetiver scent. Next, Vetiver Java by Perris Monte Carlo. This is rich, rootsy, earthy, warm, and deep vetiver with like a slight kick to it. Sort of dry amber comes out more and more as it progresses, along with some musk, but really vetiver is the focus here, as you might guess from the title. But like I always say, titles are sometimes just so off for fragrances. Like there might be something that's called one thing and you just like, Le Labo is known for this, but like you don't even get that no barely at all sometimes. But yeah, if you're curious specifically to what like Java vetiver smells like vetiver from Java versus other types, also worth trying. I mean, there's more stuff going on here than just, it's not like this is just pure Java vetiver, but it always is interesting to me to contrast the way different notes smell from different sources. which can be pretty different sometimes. And yeah, this is high quality, smooth, yet deep and rich. Next, Vetiver Eau de Parfum by Malin and Goetz. This is a smooth, light, yet deep, woodsy vetiver scent with kind of like a vibe of fresh air sort of floating through it as well. Not too dirty, not too earthy or nutty style vetiver, plenty of freshness, but it still comes across as classy, versatile, and something that I think you could wear on people even if they really don't love vetiver in general. On the other hand, if you are looking for a super strong, intense, dark vetiver scent with massive projection, keep it moving from that one, but I really like that one for what it is. Next, and I would say this next one is one of the highest quality ones on the list with a price to match. A nice, I guess I should say the name first, Madrona by House of Matriarch, and that is a nice, deep, cool, foresty lavender paired with vetiver. Very much more lavendery in the opening, but then the vetiver really kind of swoops in and takes over to a degree, just super smooth, really rich, but it doesn't go into smelling like that kind of roasted peanuts type of smell that really dark, rich vetiver sometimes can. It's like crisp and dry and smoky at the same time. And if you are a fan of lavender, cedar, and vetiver, I would say if you can afford trying it, that one is an absolute must try for those notes. Just really expensive. I think it might be like, okay, maybe I'm exaggerating it, but I feel like it's like $500 for a 50 milliliter bottle. But I never recommend blind buys anyway. But yeah, really an excellent, just masterful take on the notes in it. To me, I would say it kind of smells like wearing a nice vetiver scent while relaxing in a cool forest clearing with a cup of lavender tea. But yeah, really, really good. Next, back in the designer realm, Vetiver Tonka by Hermes. Rich, deep, high-quality vetiver. Surprisingly niche quality for a designer, even for Hermes, who are generally known as being much better than a lot of designer fragrance houses at what they put out, and also this is one of their more pricey ones. This has a nutty side to it, slightly caramelized, well-rounded depth, but it's not super sweet by any means. There's a warm and almost humid, fresh blonde tobacco vibe, and then this very, very smooth Tonka that really demonstrates how Tonka can be done without just coming across smelling like, vanilla powder. And I like those vanilla-y type of Tonka scents too, so I'm not dissing that, but it's nice to smell this type of take and see some other sides to Tonka than just that usual kind. And even though this is very expensive for a designer, I think it might be like $300 for a bottle or something. I actually don't think within the realm of expensive fragrance that it's that overpriced or anything, because to me it does smell on par with niche fragrances that cost this much or even way more. Pretty versatile too, and I think you could wear it for pretty much any occasion, almost any weather, as long as it's not like extremely hot. And this one I would say unisex leaning, slightly masculine, so it's a little bit less like extremely masculine leaning than some of the other ones on this list. Next, Escale en Haiti. I'm not sure how that would be said in French, but Escale en Haiti by Indemodables. This opens with like a really authentic plant-like scent, kind of like smelling, green plants up close. Greener than I thought it would be from looking at the notes. It's almost really like, yeah, you're in a garden smelling plant stems. The juniper takes it in a fresh, greener direction than I thought this would go from the notes as well. And this particular kind of vetiver that they used here is kept growing for a longer time to really let the scent mature and bring out all the nuances. So it does have more of like an authentic rootsy vibe to it. Aromatic and still fresh, but like in an earthy style freshness. But the earthy part here is not dirty or pungent or, you don't have to love earthy scents to be down with this one, I think. Just very like natural, nature-y smelling, and actually almost clean in a way, and definitely could be seen as refined, I would say. If you're looking for a vetiver scent that's both fresh and earthy, this is a must-try, I would say, because a lot of vetiver scents lean in one of those directions, where it's like very much super fresh kind or like really deep, dark vetiver, but this really pairs that earthy side of it with, again, a freshness to it as well. And it's still very like authentic vetiver smelling, just really well-balanced take on it. Next, this is one of my favorites on this list and just really, really good quality, but again, with a price to match. Vetiver de Pierre by L'Atelier Français des Métiers, also called Anthology Grand Cru sometimes or something, I'm not sure, but I'll link in the description. This opens with like a deep, dark, rich vetiver with a very slight powdery vibe at the same time from the cacao and Tonka. Almost like a masculine shaving cream type of scent if it was more rich and dark. Maybe that sounds like I'm saying it smells cheap or something, but I don't. I only mean that in a good way. There's tobacco and something that kind of comes across like a peppery kick to me, but the whole thing is also very smooth, just super high quality, rich vetiver scent with depth. And although there is cocoa in it, this is not a gourmand by any means. The chocolate just adds like a little bit of background nuance maybe. And as it progresses, it becomes kind of more caramelized, the scent overall, but still smooth, never overly sweet. Just that kind of like textural smell to it, if that makes sense. Next, Boka Zelen. This would be up there, I would say, with the top 3 highest quality on this list. This is an excellent quality, green, deep, rich vetiver fragrance that opens with this just like beautiful lime accord. Given how natural this fragrance is, I was a little concerned it would smell too like bitter and astringent, like lime sometimes does to me in niche fragrances. As much as I do like, the smell of lime, I don't know, air fresheners or like real limes and lime desserts and stuff. Sometimes when it can be used in fragrance, it can come across very sharp. But here it's just absolute perfect combination of authentic but still wearable to me. It almost has, if people, you know what like rainbow sherbet is, like that ice cream type of thing. It's like that style of lime almost, where it's like, yeah, just, but in a richer way than that. The yuzu here is also bright yet deep, not too bitter, but it still retains its natural qualities. So again, just so well balanced, so well blended. The pink pepper and cardamom are really artfully blended too. They just kind of add nuances of spice to the other notes. Beeswax here is really well done. It doesn't overtake the other notes. And the cedar and sandalwood here are really like smooth, deep woods. But above all, the Haitian vetiver is the focus from start to finish. And yeah, I guess I'll say at the very end what I think there's like one more to go, top 3 best quality vetiver fragrances are, but this would definitely be one of those, maybe even number 1. Last, this one is discontinued, and I haven't found a place to get it, even like samples of it anymore. Otherwise I'd try to create some decants so other people can try it, but I don't choose what to go on a list either based on like, this is available, this isn't available. It happens to be that pretty much almost everything from this list is available, but I really like to choose these just based on what I actually think is, my picks at least, the best. So this next one, Howl at the Moon by Paranormal Perfumes. Such a nice spicy woodsy scent with smoky vetiver, fresh green forest sort of like mixed with darker forest, and then smooth yet suave spice, a slight fresh citrus air that kind of eases you into it in the opening, and then this very like sexy masculine smoked vetiver, just super well done. I hope that it gets brought back at some point, and I really like Paranormal Perfumes in general. They're probably up there with some of my favorite small indie fragrance houses. So yeah, this is the list. And as mentioned about the top 3, I would have to say, just kind of going off the top of my head, that would be the Vetiver de Pierre, and that's the one by L'Atelier Français des Métiers, that just like really deep, dark, rich, but also has this kind of like smooth caramelized tobacco and stuff with it. Boka Zelen, that very like green with the lime and yuzu vetiver, so good. And then Madrona by House of Matriarch. Those are all very expensive, so I'm not saying wow and they're the cheapest ones or something like that, but there were a few on this list, namely Encre Noire and Encre Noire Sport by Lalique, that are a lot cheaper. And there's also some of the other ones on the list too that are, niche but priced like designers, or even better, like the Essential Parfums one. So yeah, again, I'll link in the description. Again, that is my site, but you can get these so many other places. I don't choose anything based on, to include in like a best of collection based on, ooh, I think someone's gonna buy this if I put it in there. There's stuff that I know would be popular and sell better if I featured it in a collection, but if I don't think it's the best of, it's not going in there. So this is really just my picks for the top 20 best vetiver fragrances. And if you have some that I did not mention, I'm curious what everybody else's would be as well.